Welcome to Evoke Creativity with me, Tammy Collins. Here's a sneak peek at what we're going to create today. And it's a Concertina DIY journal or notebook. I'm making this as a Christmas gift for a local student, if you will, that is in need of things, and I sort of selected a random child. Anyway, the gift that the child, or some of the gifts that the child had asked for, were art related things. So I thought, oh, this is perfect for me. So rather than just buying a bunch of things, I'm going to make it extremely personal. I'm making this Concertina Journal, which I absolutely adore and love. So what we're going to do is take a bunch of leftover materials and scraps and create a beautiful Concertina journal for this student. So right now I'm taking some 103-pound mixed media smooth paper, and it's 9 by 12, I believe, in size, and I'm just folding the pages in half to create the size I'm after. And now I'm using some leftover cardstock, or it's almost chipboard. It's the backing from the tablets of paper. And I'm cutting out a piece of cardboard that is about 1/4 of an inch larger than the pages that I did. So the pages ended up being 6 by 9. So I'm cutting this 6 1/4 by 9 1/4. And I'm doing that so that there is about 1/8 of an inch frame, if you will, or excess chipboard that will sort of extend beyond the pages of paper. It makes for a really nice finished product. So I'm just marking out the size, and then I'm going to use just a knife, which again, use at your own, be very careful with this. This is not super simple, and it is easy. You could cut yourself if you weren't careful. So, do at your own risk, if you will. But this is the best way to do this. I do have a paper cutter, but this board is a little bit thicker than the paper cutter will cut nice and clean. So I'm just finding for this size, this is the way I'd like to do this. Now you will notice that there is a lip of green paper there, and that's left over from the cover. So the cover kind of folded over around onto the top. I'm just going to leave that there, and I'll show you later what I do with that remnant of paper left on the chipboard. So I'm just going to make sure that my two pieces are the same size. And I'm going to use this leftover cereal box as the interior page. So I'm going to add ribbons to this, and that means I will need an interior page to sort of cover up the ribbon and the folded over paper that we use on the cover. That all makes sense in a little bit. So I'm going to cut these out, and I'm going to cut these now the same size as the paper. So the cover we cut at 6 1/4 by 9 1/4, and I'm going to cut the interior panel at 6 by 9, which is the same as the paper. And I'm just repeating the same process here. I'm just cutting it out with the knife. Now this I could cut on the paper cutter. Granted I could do that, but I was in the flow here of doing that, and just continued on with what I was doing. I do want to be able to . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . create a channel of sorts, if you will, in here. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. And that's going to be so that the ribbon can sit in there a little more flush. And so when we adhere our paper on there, it doesn't create this ripple effect, if you will. And then if I did this again, I think I would do this twice. And I'll show you why. And each time I do one of these, you know, I add something, I do something, it gets better and better and better and better. And that's kind of the whole point of, right, just trying and experimenting with things. You get better and better. And the reason that I'm calling this Evoke Creativity is because I'm giving this as a gift to someone else, because I want to evoke creativity in them. They've already expressed an interest in the arts or art-related things and specifically asked for that type of a gift. So I'm giving them something that not only shows that you can make the journal, but you can really just use it for so many different things. And so I'm hoping that that evokes creativity in them. That's a big purpose of what I'm doing and why I'm creating this channel, and the direction that I want to go is to evoke creativity. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking the board and I'm splitting it in half, and then I'm creating the width of the ribbon. I'm marking out what the width would be. Now I realized later that I probably made this one particular side a little bit too long and the other one a little bit too short, but it's okay, it'll all work out just fine. But again, if I did this the next time, I would probably split this and make them both the same size. And the reason that we're doing this is because I'm going to cut that out. So when I lay the ribbon in the book, it is now more flush with this particular layer, and it will be hidden and a lot more smooth. But I really like the way it came out. The next time I will create a second layer, and I won't even bother to cover this layer. I'll just put the two layers together and cover them together. And then when I put it in there, it would really cover that up nicely. But I'll do a tutorial when I do that. Right now it's not going to really make any sense until I create that. So right now I'm thinking about how I want to make sure that these match up on both pieces. And I'm realizing I probably made that one a little too big, but that's okay. So I've come up with how I'm going to address that. So I want the ribbons to line up because we want to be able to tie the book closed. Because it's a concertina style notebook, it opens from either side. So you want to be able to tie both sides. Okay, so now I'm just going to flip it over and create a smaller one on the other side. And I'm just playing around with making sure that they line up. And I'm realizing I want them face to face to ensure the same position. So I'm just making that groove slightly shorter than I did on the other side. That's all. So if you can imagine, if you repeated this and cut two more 6x9 pieces of board from the cereal box, and you just adhered it to this piece, you would have the groove for the ribbon to sit in, and then you would have cardboard covering where that ribbon was. And that's really the ideal place to be. This way is fine. It looks beautiful. It came out great. It'll work fine, but to take it a step up, that's what I would do next time. I really love paper. I really love making things with paper. I make my own to-do list tablets and budget tablets and just project tablets, and I have a lot of fun doing that. I just enjoy the process. It's very therapeutic. I love the fact that I can customize them to the way that I want them to be. Um, I really just love doing that. Okay, so now I'm gonna glue them on here, and I use both the glue and the glue stick. I have found that this really helps to prevent the paper from buckling. This is a tip that I got. I have no idea where I got it from. I have watched, countless videos over the years, and it's just something I picked up at one point, and I have no idea. If you know whoever's the idea the creator of this idea or where it came from, be sure to let me know. But it's a really fantastic tip, and I don't really know why it works. So you can see I put some glue on there, and then I took the glue stick and I just rubbed that all around. And what happens is when you put this on the paper, if you use Elmer glue on paper, it will get wrinkly because it wets the paper and it doesn't really stick properly, and you get all these weird buckles after it dries. And I have found that this works fantastic. It does not allow it to do that, and it has something to do with the glue stick and the glue. So I like to use the bone tool to just really burnish the paper into the cardboard and the glue and get it really stuck down and smooth. And I'm not measuring here, I'm just cutting the corners so I can fold them over. I like to pre-fold them and crease them. This really also helps with keeping the paper smooth. And then after I pre-fold them, I dry fold them. And if my corners overlap, I take the bone folder and I kind of crease those so that they'll fold nicely. So this time, because this is going to be glued down, I don't need to do both the glue and the glue stick, because this side will be glued down. I put the piece of paper on there to try to help prevent glue from getting all over. And it's just a scrap piece of paper that I have, and then I'm just getting these glued down. And if the corner's a little too pointy, I'm just sort of working it in. And now I have glue on that side, so I flipped it around. Sometimes those are the details that really help you to have a really great finished product. We get anxious and we move along and we forget what we're doing. So without this paper here, if I was just gluing, I would get glue on my surface and it would end up on the other side of this piece. So by putting the paper there, I'm kind of controlling where the excess glue goes, and it allows for this side to stay super smooth and clean free of glue. Okay, so what you're looking at right now these are the cover. This is the cover of the Concertina DIY journal. And I don't know if you can see it there, but that green piece of paper that was on the back there, it creates a little tiny seam there, and we're going to use some decorative washi tape to add some detail to the journal, and that line will serve as a perfect guide for that. So we're just going to repeat the process now for the back or the other cover of the book. And we're just getting that glued down. We're just repeating the same process. but that really works so, so, so well. I have made gifts since I can't even, I mean, I think as a very little girl, I would make things for gifts. And that grew year over year. And some years I would make all of my gifts for everything. And I can't even, I mean, I've made so many different things, I can't even remember them all. But maybe over the times I will. Unfortunately, we didn't have, cell phones where we documented every detail of everything we did. So there's not many pictures of them. If they are, they're taken with an actual camera, and the quality is not that great. But and some years I made every gift, and some years I only made a couple gifts. And I've done everything from making food to crafts to clothing. You name it, I've done it. Now, I just used my sleeve there to wipe a little bit of the glue that I got on there. But what about you? Do you have any holiday or just gift traditions or things that you like to make to give as gifts? Let me know in the comments. I just thought with the holidays coming, this is a really great gift. I'm using just, scraps of things that I have here. There's nothing fancy. I didn't run out and buy it. You saw as a cereal box and leftover backing from a tablet of paper. I keep tablet of paper because I wanted a nice, I'm going to add some markers to this gift, so I wanted a smooth paper. And a couple other things. I do some color the cover books that I have published on Amazon. I'm going to give a couple of those as well with the gift. So now I'm just repeating the same process here for this other piece, and I'm using a coordinating piece of paper. And so these will be on the inside, if you will. And so that line, the groove, that little U channel that I cut out is where the ribbon will sit. So I'm just repeating everything I just did on the other covers. These are just going to be on the inside, and they're slightly smaller. And I'm just going to cut out a little bit of the bulk there. It doesn't have to be super specific, but the idea here is that your ribbon doesn't make a ripple in the paper. And so that's the direction that I'm taking here. So that doesn't have to be really specific. I'm just allowing it to make more room for the ribbon to fit in, which some of this may not make sense until I show you here. So we're just gluing down the edges now, the same process. And when I cut these papers for these boards, I just used the board, set it on the paper, and just sort of eyeballed about, 3/4 of an inch, half an inch excess to allow it to fold over on each side. And I just used the paper cutter and just sort of quickly cut that out. I didn't think you really needed to see how that was done. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's happening. So now you can see I took the ribbon and I hot glued it down in the location where it was supposed to be. So how I did that was I used the template and marked the board before I covered everything so that I knew exactly where to put the ribbon. So this piece, before I put the paper on top, I put it down on the board and marked where the ribbon would go. And so now I'm just getting this ready to adhere. I'm not measuring specifically how I want it to go on there because I marked it so the ribbons, it's going to kind of find its own spot in there. It just sort of sits right on top of the ribbon. And so now you can see why I did what I did. The paper covers up the ribbon and the ribbon is hidden, and it doesn't create a like a buckle, you know, because the ribbon is thicker and it would affect the paper. So it's very smooth there. And this is why I said I would probably double that up next time, just to get a cleaner look in the end. So now I'm taking all of those pieces of paper that I folded in half and I'm going to attach them together. This is masking tape. I have done this with washi tape and cloth tape, and they all work really well. This masking tape in particular seems to be super sticky, so I'm just using that here. And so I lay the papers out so that there's a tiny, almost like a hairline space in between, so that when the tape is on and we fold them, it folds nicely. And I put tape on the one side and I flip it over and I put tape on the other side. And I just continue doing this with all of the pages that I have. And I just eyeball it. I'm not marking it. You could get super specific and mark this. I find that, you know, the eyeballing is just fine. At least for me, maybe that may not work for you. You could certainly measure the width of your tape and get a center line and do all of that and mark it. You could certainly do that and get really specific. And then I just flip it over and I add the tape to the other side. I apologize about the autofocus. I'm having a lot of difficulty with this camera doing that. I'm going to have to look into that and see how I can get rid of that problem. But remember, we're perfectly imperfect around here. We don't let stuff like that stop us from doing what we want to do. I wanted to share this video with you, and so I'm doing it. I just love these little notebooks. They are really fantastic. If you haven't seen any of my journal flip through videos, check those out because there are Concertina style notebooks in there that are filled out, that have, you know, work in them, and it really gives you a better idea of what's happening. And so see, you see it folds like an accordion. So, and you have double the amount of space because it's one-sided, and then you can flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so I have to apologize here. I thought I recorded another little video. I don't know what happened to it, but this is the journal that's finished. I basically just glued the page into the book, and that's really it that happened. I just used the Elmer's glue. I glued it in, and now I'm using a book press that I made to just sort of really squish and seal it all down a little bit. I'm not going to leave it in here very long because this isn't the same size. All I'm trying to do is give it a really firm squeeze to really get it situated, and I want to make sure I'm getting this end, and then I'm going to slide it over and do the other end. But then I'll let it sit weighted overnight, and then it'll be really nice and perfect. I love adding the ribbons because it really makes it feel like a special gift every time you open it. And then I just took some washi tape that I had with a little gold honeycombs and a little bees, and I put those on the front cover where I had that little seam, if you remember, from the green paper that was left over on there. It created like a little ridge. I just used that ridge as a nice straight line to lay down the washi tape. And that's it. This will make a beautiful little gift. I'm going to get some markers and gel pens to go with it. And I'm going to include a couple of my published journals. I have a color the cover and just a note-taking journal, and make a whole kit and put it in a nice basket and wrap it all up with some goodies. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and share. Tell me in the comments what you thought. Tell me about your gift traditions that you make. Just hang around here for a second. I'm going to show you the completed cover with the washi tape on there. This is just a cutting board that I used to make this little press, so it works really great. And here it is, all pressed and finished. And there it is with the washi tape.